Greetings, party people. I'm Kevin on 7KSW, and I'm excited to show you some ExamTools accessibility features, specifically ones that help vision impaired and physically impaired applicants. So here we are on the lovely ExamTools website. I'm going to be using the development version of the site for this demonstration. And the first thing we'll do, if the text is a little bit difficult for me to see, is I'm going to press Command plus or Control plus to make the text a little bit bigger. ExamTools does a pretty effective job at scaling the text up and the elements up without without making things less readable, or while still letting everything fit on the screen and be legible. I'm gonna do my best. We'll see how far we get to select everything the easiest way possible, for me at least. And for a lot of people, that's usually using the keyboard. On most websites, you can press the Tab key to start selecting different elements on the website. And I'm going to do that. So if I press Tab and then Tab, I'll see that it selects Join Exam Session. I'll hit the spacebar. Oh, that didn't work. I'll hit the spacebar or Enter. Enter worked there. To get to the login page, I'll type in the information here, and then I can press Enter, or come down and click Join Session, but I'll press Enter. It'll go through this. The VEs will let me in, and here I'll go through my information. One of the VEs could help me read over what's exactly here if I can't look at it myself, or I can zoom in and out as I need. Cool, let's go ahead and start the exam. I'll press Tab until I get to that button and space to select that button. The VEs will let me in here. And here is our pretty familiar environment. Again, if I have trouble reading the text, I can zoom in or out as I need to. Now there's a couple ways to help somebody who can't really read the questions too well. You could either, like I just did, zoom in so that the text is bigger. You can allow the applicant to use a screen reader, which is usually a browser extension, which will simply read the text that you select on the screen, or just read all the text top to bottom. Screen reader would be an effective option as long as you trust as long as the screen reader isn't like mispronouncing all the technical words or something like that. Or you could have somebody read the questions out loud, either a VE or somebody else in the room that you can see. If somebody is going to read the questions out loud, you just obviously want to make sure that they're not going to emphasize a particular answer, or they're not going to mispronounce anything themselves, and they're going to be generally helpful to the applicant in being neutral and repeating things as the applicant needs them to. So, as most of you probably know, and we usually tell the applicants this anyway, you can type in the letter on your keyboard of the answer that you want to select. So if I want to select A, I can press the letter A on my keyboard, and ExamTools will automatically advance me to the next question. I can zoom in a little bit here to get the question fully in view, and I can click the up and down arrows to make sure that to center it on the screen. I can type in whatever answer that I want, and we're on to the next question. Sometimes, depending on how zoomed in you are, it'll skip around a little bit. So if I answer this question, nope, it didn't do it. Well, now I can't really recreate the issue. But sometimes if you select something on one question, it'll skip you a couple questions ahead. Uh, if that happens, let's zoom back in here. If that happens, you can select the letter P, as in Papa, to go to the previous question. It'll highlight that question there. So now if I click one of the answers, it'll progress me to the next question. If I want to go to the next question after this, I can type in the letter N, as in November, to scroll between the questions. So if I want to skip this one, I can press N, and maybe skip this one as well. Maybe answer this one, and then press previous if I want to go, or press P for previous if I want to go up to that. Cool. I'm going to keep answering some questions here. I'm using cheat mode a little bit on the development site because I honestly could not answer the questions. Well, I probably could answer most of them, but it would be pretty embarrassing if I failed the test for this video. You can see I wasn't really paying attention there, but I'm pretty sure it just skipped over a couple questions that it did not highlight, which is okay because after I answer this one, it should, skip back to whatever previous one or whatever the first one I did not answer was. Cool. And again, if it scrolls, if it puts you up like this, well, I guess if it like shows up like this, you can always just use your arrow keys. If otherwise you want to reposition yourself on your screen, or maybe the question takes up more space than you have on your screen. Let's try to find. Well, I was gonna find a question where that's the case, but all of these are actually pretty short. But anyway, yeah, you can always scroll up and down with the arrow keys or just your mouse or trackpad to get the question in view. And then we'll keep using A, B, C, or D to answer the questions. And here's the last question here. I wonder if I press... No, if I press tab, it'll take me to the top question. So I guess that's not really helpful. Now I need to go back to question 8. So let's see what I should do. I guess the easiest way, without using, if I did not want to use my cursor, the easiest way would just be to hold the arrow key down or press next, maybe, until we get to question 8, because that's what we skipped. It's at the bottom of my screen. I'm going to press the down arrow to bring it up here so I can see it a little bit better. And this is probably somewhat obvious by now, but if the question is highlighted in white, this is the question that is going to respond to your keyboard input. So if I answer it now, it'll select that. Cool. Now we're done with the exam. We're ready to grade. I can review my answers. I can review the questions by pressing N and P on the keyboard to go through them, and maybe have somebody, if somebody else is reading them to me, I can have them read them again if I need them to. And then I don't think we have any diagrams on this test, but in a little bit I'm going to show you how to make sure that an applicant does not get any diagrams. I think for the diagrams, you pretty much have to click on them. If there was a diagram on this test, I can just scroll up to, it'll be on top of the question itself. So I would just click where the diagram is, it would make it bigger, and then I can click again to make it smaller, as you most likely know. Beautiful. Cool, so now we answered all the questions. I'm going to hit tab a couple times to get to the grade exam button. You'll see that it's highlighted down here. and then I'll press space to click it, which that looks like it worked. My VEs will approve it, and look at that, it's magic. Cool. So assuming I didn't want to take another test, let's try pressing tab to get to finish and sign forms. And then I'll press tab again to start selecting things, and then I'll press it again to select finish and sign here. And then I can have the VEs read my personal information to me again, if I need them to. And then I'll tab down to the 605, press space on that. My VEs can read this to me as I scroll up and down with the arrow keys, or have somebody sitting next to me read it to me or help me navigate through it. I'll hit close, CSCE, same thing, boom, cool. And then I will scroll down here, see if we can tab to the full name. Yep, it's right there. Oh, me or somebody else can type it in. If you don't have somebody, if I didn't have somebody sitting next to me, I could let somebody, one of the VEs on Zoom, take remote control, assuming that this is a remote session. They could take remote control over my computer and type in whatever I need them to. So for somebody who's like completely unable to sign on their own, you can basically sign for a there is a, like, I guess you could call it an official procedure for signing on behalf of somebody else. Another VE, Dave AE7TD, put together a document on administrating a test for a totally blind applicant, and in that he talked about how to sign for somebody else. And there's a legal way to do that. I'm not the most familiar with that. I've never done it before, so you shouldn't. I would not recommend that you trust me completely about how to do that, and that's why I'm not going to cover it in too much detail. But feel free to reach out if you want me to point you in the right direction for that information. Aside from having somebody else sign from you, I don't know that there's any way to sign without using your mouse or trackpad. So we'll do some scribbles. We'll do a little happy face right there. Boom. Could click tab, sign documents, tab, finish session, and we'll log out. Boom, and we are right back here. Cool. So let me show you how to turn off diagrams for somebody's exam. So here we are in ExamTools. If I have VE admin or co-owner permissions on the session, I can go to Manage, Edit Applicant, scroll down, and right here where it says Restrict Question Selection to Questions Without Figures, I can click that and click Save. And now I am 100% confident that this applicant's test will not include any figures, diagrams, whatever you want to call them. Another thing you might need to do before this process even begins is, if the applicant is unable to register for the session on Ham Study themselves, you can go into the session, you can click on this button on the top right to add an applicant manually, and you can basically type in the information yourself and basically get it from them. and maybe you might have to help them register for FRN. But in ExamTools here, you put in their FRN or their call sign, and then you can basically manually type in all the same information that they would be typing in on Hand Study, and then you would click Save, and then they would show up down here, and you can see everything in here. Awesome. So those are a couple of the accessibility features that I thought would be interesting or helpful to go over. Of course, there's probably a lot more considerations and other features that I missed or I didn't think about when I was making this video. Please feel free to reach out if you have any suggestions or other things that you think would be helpful that ExamTools is able to do, or just any other considerations or things that you've found useful. As again, I am not the ultimate expert when it comes to ExamTools as a whole. Awesome, but I hope you found something here. I hope you found something here helpful. As always, let me know if you have any questions, and don't forget to have fun.